Hello everyone. Today we're going to take a look at how to turn a old scanned handout into a fully digital one that students can either fill out digitally or print and fill out on paper. So here's the handout we're going to be converting over. This one's a fairly old one that I scanned several years ago and used to use in class. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a name, date, and period area up at the top of the document. We'll put in a title, we will put in the instructions, and then build out an area where the students could answer that question. So I'm going to throw this over, and what we have here is a Google Doc. Now the first thing I want to do is construct that header portion. So we're going to double click into the header, and we'll come over here to the insert menu and put a 2x2 table in. We're going to then take that table and resize it a bit. We don't necessarily want it the entire page width, and we'll see why in just a minute. We can, if you want to add more information, so you can. I'm going to put name here and date, and then I'm going to tab and add a third one here for hour. But you could put your period or any other information by simply adding more rows in here. Now what we want to do is, since I don't want all this border showing, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to come over to the border width and I'm going to turn that to 0. So now we have a table here. We have our header information. It looks where we want it. I am going to right align this so everything lines up neatly here, but we want to have the lines here so when our students fill stuff out, they can write their name when this is in a printed form. So what I'm going to do is click into the cell and choose this drop down menu. Then I'm going to select the bottom border, and as you can see our toolbar changes. I'm going to come up here and change the width of this to either 1 or 1.5 depending on what you want. And now we have a line there that will change. We can make it bigger, we can make it smaller depending on what we need. So I'm going to repeat this for our other rows, right like this, and there we go. And then we can click out, and there we are. Now one thing, I'm going to click back into the header here. I'm in the header section in case anybody is curious about that. I just got into it by double clicking in this portion here. If we were making a multi-page handout and we didn't want this header to show up everywhere, what we would do is click different first page header. And that way this portion would only show up on the first page here. So now what we can do is come to this area, and we're going to call this geometric construction number 2. And I'm going to center it, and we're going to come over here, and I'm just going to use the default font setting for title. I like that. So we'll hit enter, and now we're going to put in these instructions we have up here. So let's move that back. And once again, I'm going to go instructions. If you want, you could bold this. I often will bold it, or you could uppercase it, whatever your preference is. And we'll type in the directions. Alright, so there we have our directions. Now we're going to take a look at this again. What we want to do is we want to create a table in here. We're going to use the table for a couple of things, mostly for layout and to give us the spaces that we need. So what I'm going to do is come down here and go insert, and I'm going to add in some extra rows. Those could be added in down the road, but we're going to use these for some different things. And we're going to hide some of this so it looks very close to what we have on our original. So what I'm going to do is create that first set of instructions there. We'll go 1 period. And you can see how when you create a list like this, it bumps it over. I'm going to actually tab that back to give me some more room, and we'll put in our instructions for this specific problem. And as you can see, we have a spelling error in there. We're going to right click and fix that. So what we're going to do now is give us a little bit more room. So I'm going to pull this to the sides here, right like that. And we'll do the same thing for the other one. Now, for now, I'm going to leave this border in. We'll come back and fix that. And then what I can do is take this other one and pull it down. Okay. And that's where we would set things up for our students to do their drawings. So I'm going to put in my instructions in the next one. And once again, we'll fix our spelling errors. And then down here, I'm going to put in my other instructions. And we'll put in our fourth one. Alright, so now looks like we're not going to need these other rows, so I'm going to highlight those, right click, and choose delete 2 rows there. So now we'll pull this down, and we got to adjust our sizes here just a little bit. Looks like we have a space we can take out up here, and because we want this all to be on one use table properties, and instead of left aligning it, we're going to center it up. And that fixes that. And we still need to adjust this a little bit, so we'll pull this up just a bit. And there we go. Now, we'll go back. I'm going to right click because I want to make these two sections equal. So we'll right click table properties, and everything looks good there. And so there we are. Now we can play with these just a little bit to give us any room we need. So in this first one, we don't need to put any information, but in these bottom two, as you can see here, we have these two circles we need to create. So we're going to do that next. So we're going to come up to our insert and draw. We'll select new. And now what we can do is we can do our shapes. So I'm going to come over here and grab my circle. And we'll put circle in here about like that. I'm going to move it up here a little bit and center it. We will turn off our fill right here. I'm going to put transparent. And there we go. And then we'll use our little line tool here, and we'll draw just a little center mark. And we'll be able to adjust this in just a minute. I'm going to actually delete that and try it again. We'll zoom in a little bit. And if you hold the shift key, it should keep everything locked together. Okay, that looks pretty good. Happy with how that's looking, so we'll select those and we'll put them at the center. And as you can see, we have some guides right there, and then we'll put a label on. call that A, and we'll make that smaller. And now I'm going to drop that like right over here. You can also highlight it and kind of nudge it around with your arrow keys if you want to get the look that you need. So this looks good. Now we have to create a point B over here. So what I'm going to do is grab my shape. We'll grab a circle. I'm just going to make the smallest dot I can, and we'll do a black fill on that, and we're left with this dot that I can then drag over. We'll select it right like that, and that looks good right there. We're going to zoom in to 200% so we can select it a little bit better. And we'll throw another label on there. Well, actually, let's grab this one. We'll right click and copy it. And then all I'm going to do is change it from A to B, and we'll put this here, and that looks good. So we'll hit save and close, and there we go. Now what we can do is bring that down, and we'll center it, and there we are. So now we'll do basically the same thing. We'll copy it, paste it over to here, and we're just going to make sure that we didn't create a duplicate. Now this one, we can click on it, choose edit, and we're going to change these labels right there. I'm going to change that. We can still use the B right there, so I'm going to drag this out, and carefully we're going to zoom in here again. We'll say 200%. So I can grab that and move it out. Zoom out to 100%. And that actually looks, we'll bring this out a little bit. And we'll just align it right there, hit save and close. And there we are. Now these are not going to be perfectly aligned since this circle's a little bit smaller. But now students could use their drawing tools and they could complete this assignment. This assignment could also be completed by printing it out. One thing I'm not liking a little bit is this area up here. So let's double click into our header here, and we're going to make sure the whole table's aligned. Us bump it over a little bit. We'll grab this edge and pull that over. And that looks more of what we're looking for. Yeah. And we'll click out. And there we go. We have our handout constructed. Should function as we want it to in both a digital form and a paper form.